Welcome to this short introduction about the OpenStudyBuilder, the background and the scope. The OpenStudyBuilder needs to be seen in the background of the CDIS 360 project. This project had been dealing about automation. So how can we really automate the complete flow from end to end? So from protocol to study, submission, conduct and submission to the authorities. It's really that you can really have all processes coming from protocol outlines through defining the study, designing the study and everything, so that you can really enable our standards for an end-to-end process. The Transliterate Digital Data Flow project is also connected to the CDIS 360 project because it's really concentrating here on implementing a reference implementation, how these automation can go. The OpenStudyBuilder is can be seen as the same, so it's an implementation of the ideas and the concepts brought up by the CDIS 360 project. But it aims also to be a reference implementation of the Digital Data Flow project, so you also can see the OpenStudyBuilder as a study definition repository. And it's aiming also that all the APIs, which are developed currently as standard APIs from the Digital Data Flow project, should also be supported by the OpenStudyBuilder. So as you can see, the idea really is to have a central linked graph database, a clinical metadata repository containing also all study metadata. So if you have solutions which will be compatible with the DDF API, these will also be working with the OpenStudyBuilder. And the idea is that everything else what we have just connects to our global metadata repository and that we can really automate the following processes. This is not only, this is for really constructing the final tables, but also it starts with the protocol and the planning and so on. The OpenStudyBuilder itself contains three elements. The heart is a repository, so it's a clinical metadata repository and a study definition repository. It's a graph repository and really contains everything, all the metadata you need to specify your study. Then there is the OpenStudyBuilder application. This is the web interface. This is how the user interacts with the database. And there is an API layer. This allows interoperability with any other applications. For example, if you have a DDF project compatible solution, there is a DDF API adapter. But every other automations will go through the API layer. So you can, everything you do in a web application interactively, you can also automate through the API. When you look content-wise to the OpenStudyBuilder, it has three parts. It has a study parts where you define everything for the study, including the disease area, objectives, endpoints, and so on. Then there's a library part, which is the classical metadata repository. So here you have your CDIS control terminology, but also sponsor-specific control terminology, and also other dictionaries. And in the background, you do have an underlying knowledge graph database, which is extremely important because due to this linking, it really enables you complex queries and visualizations. And as having it all connected, you really have this connected end-to-end opportunity. The connections are extremely important. So the OpenStudyBuilder project is is very intensively working with the CDISC library, so it's loading the control terminology, but also the models and the implementation guides. We have connections to the DDF project, so to the Transliterate Digital Data Flow. Here we really see that we are a compatible solution. So if you have developed a product which is working with a DDF reference implementation through an API adapter, it will also be possible that it works with the OpenStudyBuilder. Another aspect is also the biomedical concepts. This is a huge standardization topic. CDISC has the Cosmos project, so the conceptual and operational data standards, metadata services. And here it really is a standard approach. So this is also where we are working with. And the OpenStudyBuilder is also a COSA project, so we are part of the CDISC Open Source Alliance, as this is a very good and broad open source project. There are other things which we are going to follow or which we are going to implement, which is not available now, but we are looking at, which is, for example, the new ISH M11 guideline. So this is a new standard guideline about the protocol presentation, which just recently went out to the public. Then there's a new initiative which is called OAK. This deals with the CDISC to SDTM mapping. The mapping itself is not part of the OpenStudyBuilder, but as the OpenStudyBuilder is managing all the metadata, as soon as OAK is also becoming metadata driven, and this is one of the goals, the metadata is meant to be maintained and updated also in OpenStudyBuilder. Admiral is an R package to map SDTM to Adam, which is a very nice project. And also this mapping is facilitated in an R environment, so this is outside of the OpenStudyBuilder. But as soon as Admiral becomes metadata driven, so you're defining your Admiral mapping rules via metadata, this is where the OpenStudyBuilder would come in. And we are also looking for initiatives for analysis results metadata. So whatever can be done with metadata is meant that we can also support these processes by storing this in the metadata framework in our OpenStudyBuilder. So what is the OpenStudyBuilder? The OpenStudyBuilder contains this database together with the APIs, but it comes along already also with quite some tools and some scripts. What it is not, it's not an EDC system, it's not a computing environment, and it's not a clinical database. So the idea for the OpenStudyBuilder really is that we do have all the metadata in our database and all the following systems using a connection through the API. And these things are separate items, systems, and tools which can be connected. If you would like to get additional information, we do have our newsletter in LinkedIn. On our project homepage, you will find a lot of information like guides, references, and also events which are coming up. We do have a demonstration video. As it's an open source project, you also have the complete source code, including documentation on GitLab. We have a Slack channel, so if you would like to discuss with us anything, you can use Slack. We also have an email if you would like to reach out. And what is also pretty cool, we have a live sandbox system. So if you send an email to this email address, you can request the access for the sandbox, and then you will be able to play around with the complete solution. If you, what is the software? So how you can get the software? So as mentioned already, you can have the Access public sandbox system access just by sending an email, but the software you can also install it locally or in a server. You also could create a dedicated hosted environment, so in the cloud. This might have additional associated costs by Neo4j. You also can do a proof of concept. There is an option available through Novo Nordisk. For this, you would have to get in touch with us. What do you get? You get the application itself, which is a user interface. You get the database with a lot of example data, so you already can play around. There's a lot of documentation out there on the project homepage. The tool itself has a documentation, and you also have the GitLab documentation, which even contains database design, architecture design, instructions, and so on. But you additionally also get the API, which is of crucial importance for any follow-up automations or other tool developments. You do get scripts to load additional things into your database. There's a database browser where you can really browse the graph model, so what's in. And there's also a dashboard available, so you can check out in a dashboard, what's in there. So what you can do with the OpenStudyBuilder, what can you do with your current metadata repository, and where do you use your study metadata? So all these cases are options where the OpenStudyBuilder comes in, and this is also what the OpenStudyBuilder can do. And for this, we do have a lot of use cases. To have a quick check about available use cases, please see the other video. We definitely look for collaborations, so that's of crucial importance. We do have the OpenStudyBuilder universe. Currently, it's all implemented and released and documented by Novo Nordisk. So we have the database, the tools and the scripts. But what we would like to see and love to see is additional plugins, extensions, standalone scripts, documentation, anything. And this here really provides an opportunity for collaborators, whether it's vendors, farmers, CROs. You can create small applications, huge applications. You even can, if you don't like the user interface from the OpenStudyBuilder, you could create an alternative one. You also can create a reduced functionality repository. Whatever you need, it's an open source project, so it's available. With this, I want to finish the presentation. I hope you have a good overview about the scope and the background of the OpenStudyBuilder.